Hi, friends, and welcome. It's finally happening. The leaves are starting to change. The mornings are a little cool, a little crisp. The harvest season has come back to my bend on the river, and for me, that means it's time to pack up and go north. We're headed up to Canada, up to northern Ontario, in fact, to do some fall black bear hunting. And by we, I mean my friends Brad and Dale Morgan and my buddy Mike Butler. We're going to go up there to Esnagami Lodge. We're going to fish for big pike in the morning, which is exciting enough all by itself. But in the evenings, we're going to go out into the woods, into the true wilderness, and we're going to do some bear hunting with archery gear. Now, I should tell you, this is a different kind of bear hunting than most of the folks down further south do. These bears are not habitualized at all. They are truly wild. There are no dumps. They don't see people. Some of them can go their whole life and never encounter a human being. So they're a good deal more cautious, cagier, but they're a little bit more, well, let's say you need to give them their space too, because they think they're the king of the woods and you might not necessarily be on the top of the food chain. We're going to go up there, the four of us, and we're going to hunt at Esnagami Lodge. We'll do some pike fishing in the morning like we always do, but we're primarily going after a bear. And seeing as how Brad Morgan drew the long straw, he's going to get to start. Hey, I'm your host, Kyle Randall. This is my Wilderness Journal, and we're going looking for shadows in the tree line right now. You didn't get enough last time, huh?
Get started all over again.
Is that your official bear hunting hat? There isn't.
It's like flames. I can outrun anything.
You're pretty high speed. The first 2 hours of that first day were, I'm guessing, about what it felt like to be in a stew pot. It was hot. It was humid. The only thing that kept the mosquitoes away was the constant smoke of a thermocell. What was keeping the bears away, I was pretty sure, was that heat and humidity. I could only imagine what it would be like to be wearing a fur coat over a couple of 100 pounds of extra weight. I probably wouldn't want to go jogging in 90-degree weather either. That first evening was so hot and so muggy, you just knew it was gonna rain. But, we were already out there. All we could do was hunker down and wait for the showers to pass through. Hopefully they'd cool it off a little bit, and then maybe something in a big fur coat had come walking by. And 20 minutes after it quit raining, I heard Brad click off his safety. There was something moving, something big and dark. The bear had come down through the bush to within 20-25 yards, and then he'd stopped. I couldn't see him. For a little while, Brad said he could. He moved a couple of steps, and then neither of us could see him. Long, tense moments we waited, and then he was just gone. Did you see him? Did he run when you made that noise? We kept looking, but he was just gone. Every direction, you couldn't hear anything at all, and then about 10 minutes later we looked to the right, and there he was. He was slowly circling the site. Ever so carefully, this bear was working his way around, and if he stood absolutely still, most of the time you couldn't tell whether it was a shadow or a critter, especially when he was in the heavier brush. We sat there, waiting, and that bear just stood still, just like a statue. Watch this, friends. This is incredible. This is a 200-pound animal, not making a sound, not moving a muscle. And then finally, This was a medium-sized bear with that head, obviously a boar, certainly a shooter. Now all Brad needed was for him to move in a little bit, work his way into the bait and settle, and we'd have us a bear on the very first night. He stood there for what seemed like an eternity, and then ever so slowly he backed up like a big old cat. He slowly backed up and turned around, and then he laid down. He was only 25 yards, and he just laid there looking around. All I could figure was there were bigger bears coming to this site, and he was being real cautious. He'd probably got thumped on, got in a fight before, and he didn't want to get in another one. So there we sat, Brad watching the bear looking around. We couldn't do a thing but wait. Sooner or later this bear would have to get up, and when he did, he'd work his way into the bait, and then hopefully Brad would get a shot. Agonizing minutes ticked slowly by. 5 turned into 10, turned into 20. If you've never tried this, you have no idea how hard it is to sit perfectly still, not to swat at a bug, not to cough, not to shift in your seat. We watched. I was beginning to think this bear was going to take up residence. He was just going to sit there on the bait site and wait till it got dark, until he felt secure enough to go in and start feeding. At one point, I did think he was going to finally get up, only he just turned to scratch himself like a big old dog and just kept sitting there. And then finally he got up and started moving, only he went away from the bait and started circling again. He came up even closer this time, and ever so carefully, I mean so cautiously, this bear put one foot down and then the next. He looked like a big old cat trying to sneak up on a mouse. He worked right up underneath us. And then he stopped again. And then he sat down again. Now at less than 15 yards, he was right there, and there was absolutely nothing Brad could do about it. There was no shot, no hope of even turning. Bears don't see that well, but their ears and their noses are tremendous, and at this range, it was likely he'd even see us. And then finally he got up again, took a few steps closer toward the bait, and then he stopped and turned around and went right back out ever so carefully the same way he'd come in. And then, just as I was absolutely sure he was actually leaving, he stopped again, made a left turn, started to circle. He was coming back again, this time below us, working across at about 22, 23 yards. He was finally going to work his way into the bait, and Bradley was finally going to get a shot at it, except for he stopped and turned around and started going back out again. He actually did pause one more time briefly before finally leaving for good, leaving Brad and I just sitting there staring at each other.
That is not the dominant male bear here. It's a good-sized bear, but he's obviously not the big boy.
The rest of that evening we sat watching a beaver work on some home improvements, but we never did see another bear. That was one sneaky bear. Imagine an animal that size moving through bush that thick and never making a single sound. He was so close to us, we could hear him breathing, but we never heard a footfall touch the ground. And I have to admit, I was thinking about that as we were walking out that first night. Imagine having that thing sneaking along after you coming out of the trees. Yeah, that's kind of part of the fun of bear hunting. Sort of. And the next day in stand, we were still talking about that sneaky bear.
Day 2.
Try again. If he comes down here again, he might not go home.
Yeah,
He might go home with us.
he might. It's hot as it is, I'll be kind of surprised, but hopefully he shows up.
We sat as still and as quiet as one can while one is melting into their own hunting boots. It was that hot and humid, and while we sat there for almost 2 hours, all we saw was one little chipmunk. Friends, in my experience, that's the way it is on a bear stand. It can be so quiet, nothing moving. In this much heat, it's even worse. The truth is, if you can't sit still, if you can't take just living with your own thoughts inside your own head, you might want to steer away from this kind of hunting. That or bring a book. The first part of day 2 was just as hot and humid and as uneventful as day 1, but just as the sun set on the treetops, as it started to cool just a little bit, we heard the alarm bark of a ground squirrel as it scurried past us. There was definitely something big moving through the shadows. Brad and I scanned the trees, looking to our right the way the bear had come yesterday, so of course this one snuck in from the left. He came all the way across in front of us, paused just for a moment, and then ran off into the woods. I was pretty certain this was the exact same bear that we'd seen the night before.
Same bear as last night.
Unfortunately, knowing it was the same bear didn't get us any closer to putting a tag on him. All we could do? Yeah, just keep waiting. We sat for another hour, and then, just before dark, another bear came working in from our right. At first I thought for sure it would be the same bear, that real sneaky, cautious bear. But after getting a better look at him, I realized this was an entirely different bear, a year younger, even smaller. He too was being overly cautious as he sniffed and searched his way in. His muzzle was a little darker. He was definitely smaller. This would be a good bear in a couple of years, but unfortunately, not yet. This youngster sniffed his way around for a while and then turned and worked his way back out of the sight. He never did come to the bait. He never even got out of the brush. Even in the heat, we were seeing bears. We just weren't seeing the right bear, at least not yet. But hey, at least it wasn't raining anymore. That bear was almost as cautious as the first one, and unfortunately a little younger. Brad was going to wait. He wanted something a little more mature. It was obvious there were big boys around. They were holed up in all this heat, but they had the younger bear still being plenty careful coming into that site. All we could do was wait, and hopefully tomorrow, the last day of Brad's hunt, it would cool off, it would quit raining, and then maybe he'd get a chance before he had to get on that float plane and head for home.
Okay, Brad, day 3. Finally quit raining.
Try to give it one more chance before I gotta leave in the morning. This is the last chance.
Well, the good news is you only need one chance.
I only need one.
That's right. So hopefully this will be it.
That one with the white mark.
That'd be nice. That's a nice bear.
That's one round.
All right. That's not a train I hear in the background there, buddy.
Yeah.
So there we were, down to our last day, storm clouds building in the west. It was obviously going to rain again. But Brad only had one day. And fortunately, sometimes one is just enough. It was 8:15, and a bear was working its way into the site. This bear too was being a little cautious, but not nearly so much as the others. He walked right up and sniffed around the bait can. I was fairly certain this wasn't the same bear we'd been seeing. And then when he turned and worked out to a little piece of log that I had put some honey and popcorn on, I was sure of it. This not only was a boar, but this was the boar, the one we'd seen one time on a trail camera picture that had a big white V on his chest. This was a gorgeous bear, and Brad was already on him. Now all he needed was for this bear to get sideways and get him a decent shot. The bear lingered for a second, but Brad had to get so far up in his seat because the bear was so close he wasn't ready. And then the bear turned and walked back to the bait. He seemed a lot more comfortable, a lot less skittish. All Brad needed to do now was just bide his time, wait his chance, be ready, and let the bear get in the right spot. I reached up and gave Brad our signal I was ready, go ahead. And then it was on Brad. And then, just as he tightened the trigger, the bear turned. He had to wait. He was walking around the tree. Every time this bear got sideways, he'd be there for just a second and then he'd move. And if you know anything about bears, especially if you're the guy that has to follow up the bear after the shot, you want them standing dead still. You want them broadside. There's no reason to rush. Once they're in the bait, they'll stay there. Usually.
Nice shot, man. Listen. He didn't go, no. He's right there. I can't see him, but I bet that bear didn't go there. Nice job, Bradley. Nice. Sweet.
Awesome.
Hey, right there, brother. Nice job.
That's what we've been waiting for.
You think?
I think.
That's all right.
That's the one that had
Look
the
over
heat.
your shoulder.
It's gone.
Got your rain gear?
Yeah.
It's a coming, man. Hey, nice shot. I don't like to shoot him stand up like that, but when he was dead sideways, you had all day.
Give me broadside, stand right up, both lungs right there.
Beautiful
with this
bear. And
crossbow.
could you see, I don't know if you can see it or not, he's got just the prettiest big white V on his chest.
That's,
I mean, tell you, he is gorgeous.
that's exactly the bear we've been looking
Yes,
for.
sir. Well, we saw it on the trail camera. That other bear that's been slinking through here, he's a pretty good bear too, but boy, he's a goosey booger, isn't he?
He's a smart son of a gun.
I think another year you won't be killing that bear.
He'll be a lot of fun to hunt the next.
Maybe we'll get Mike out here and chase him around.
That would be neat.
But I think before we get wet, before it gets dark, how about we just go look at your bear?
Let's go do it.
I'll wait for you. You let me know when you find him.
I follow you.
Yeah, I remember. I forget. We'll get on.
Awesome.
Nice job. Congratulations,
All right.
buddy.
Oh my. There it is.
Yeah, I think it had enough juice to get another one, don't you?
So. I don't know.
Hey, look over your shoulder.
Look at there.
It's gonna get ugly quick. How about we go find this bear?
Let's go see if we can find it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be right behind us.
Right there. Dead bear right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he went nowhere in a hurry, didn't he? All right, brother. Yeah, he's all done. Pick that thing up if you can.
Look at that.
That's the one.
That's the ticket right there. Last night, last hour, thunderstorm coming in. Brad Morgan, you got her done, man.
Got her done.
Congratulations. That's pretty good bear now.
Good bear.
Hold that foot up. I'm here to tell you, I wouldn't want him slapping me with that.
Nope, that would leave a mark.
I think that lightning over our head might too. How about we go get Buggy, get this thing out of here?
Let's find a way.
All right? Hey, look, congratulations.
Thank you, Kyle. This
You're
was
welcome.
An awesome hunt.
Hey, I'm glad you came. This is we worked a little harder this time.
Oh,
Saw
my.
some.
You know what though? What an accommodations.
Yeah.
Eric and his family is a wonderful place to go.
Congratulations, Brad. What a gorgeous bear. That big white V across his chest really sticks out and it really sets him apart. I was being honest when I said in all the years of hunting I've done, I've never harvested one. Friends, bear hunting in the North Woods in the early season can be anything. It can be hot and humid. It can be cool and rainy. It can be downright cold and windy and miserable. The only thing it isn't is dull, especially if you're sitting on an active bear site. Hey, I want to thank Brad again for sharing that hunt with me. And I want to tell you, if you get the chance to go up there, try that archery bear hunting thing. Remember walking out in the evening like Brad and I had to do every night, past some active bear sites with only a crossbow between us? Well, that's just part of what makes it exciting as far as I'm concerned. And you never know. If we run into you tracking a big old bruin of your own, well, I might just get down and crawl into one of them bear tunnels and help you go looking for your prize. And then after that, why, we'll sit, let our nerves settle a little bit, and we'll have that cup and a fire. And friends, if I don't see you up there, well, then I'll wait for you right back here so we can share another adventure from my Wilderness Journal.